All right, let's dive into one of the most dramatic, most revealing moments in the entire Bible. Seriously, it's a story of this incredible divine revelation, immediately followed by a shocking rebuke. And it all centers on one of Jesus' closest friends, the Apostle Peter.
Now, this isn't just some theoretical question. It's a real and frankly dangerous conflict that played out right there in the life of Peter. And it reveals a battle that can happen inside any of us, that clash between our human logic and God's divine purpose. So our story kicks off with a confrontation. You've got the religious leaders, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees. These are groups who, by the way, disagreed on almost everything, and they actually team up against Jesus. They don't come with open hearts, no. They come to test him, to try and trap him. So they demand some kind of spectacular sign from heaven, something on their own terms. But Jesus just calls out the hypocrisy. He's like, you guys can look at the sky and predict the weather. You've mastered these worldly patterns, and yet you are completely blind to the divine work that's happening right in front of your faces. It's a classic case of seeing but not really perceiving. So what were these signs of the times they were missing? I mean, it was everything. It was the direct fulfillment of centuries of prophecy. The arrival of John the Baptist, the specific miracles Jesus was doing, the exact timing of his ministry, it was all laid out in the very scriptures these guys claimed to be experts on, but their hearts were just closed off. Okay, so after dealing with those hardened hearts, Jesus turns to his own disciples, and he is about to ask the single most important question of his entire ministry. Everything hinges on this.
See, he's not asking for public opinion. He doesn't care what the latest rumors are. He is looking for a deep, personal, spiritual conviction, a truth that goes way beyond what you can just see or hear.
And it's Simon Peter who steps up. He just cuts through all the noise and all the speculation with this incredible declaration of divine truth. But where did that answer even come from? It wasn't just a lucky guess, and it wasn't just him logically connecting the dots.
And right here, Jesus reveals the source. He says, Peter, that wasn't your own intellect at work. This kind of faith, this true recognition of who Jesus is, was a divine revelation, a truth given directly by God. And that is the key. True faith isn't something we figure out on our own. It's something we've received from heaven. This totally illuminates the foundation of the church. When Jesus says, on this rock I will build my church, he is not talking about Peter the man, a flawed human being who's about to make a huge mistake. No, he's talking about the rock-solid, divinely revealed truth that Peter had just confessed, that unshakable reality that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. That confession is the bedrock of our faith.
So in this one moment, Peter is the model of faith. He's the recipient of a divine blessing. But what happens literally seconds later is one of the most jarring reversals in Scripture. It's a whiplash moment that's honestly hard to believe.
Let's look at the sequence of events. First, you have this amazing heavenly revelation from Peter. Then, Jesus explains what being the Messiah actually means. He has to go to Jerusalem, suffer, be killed, and then rise again. And when Peter hears this, he's horrified. He actually pulls Jesus aside to rebuke him, saying, "No way, Lord, this will not happen to you." I mean, the severity of Jesus' response is just staggering. He turns to the man he just called blessed and now calls him Satan. How? How do you go from being the mouthpiece of God to the mouthpiece of the tempter in a single breath? Why such a harsh, brutal condemnation? Well, here's why. Because in that split second, Peter stopped thinking with the mind of God and started thinking with the mind of man. God's plan was redemption through sacrifice. Man's desire is for glory without suffering. Peter was basically voicing the great temptation, wanting the crown without the cross. And in doing so, he became a stumbling block to the entire mission of salvation. Now, this incredibly intense moment wasn't just about correcting Peter. Jesus uses this raw, unfiltered exchange to lay out the non-negotiable terms for anyone who truly wants to follow him. This is where the rubber meets the road for all of us. He lays out a threefold path. Number 1, deny yourself, your own agenda, your right to comfort, your definition of what success looks like. 2, take up your cross. Willingly accept the sacrifice and the hardship that comes with following God's plan. And 3, follow me. Walk in his path, not the easy one you'd rather choose for yourself. And here it is, the ultimate paradox of our faith. The attempt to save your life, to protect your comfort, to avoid the cross, to live for yourself, That is the surest way to lose it for eternity. But surrendering your life for His sake, that's how you discover what real, true life is all about.
Jesus just frames the choice in the starkest terms possible, forcing every single one of us to ask what we truly value. You can chase after everything this world offers, but if you lose your soul in the process, you've made the worst deal in human history. It's a loss that nothing can ever make up for.
You know, the story of Peter's paradox, going from this blessed disciple to a stumbling block and eventually back again, it leaves us with a profound challenge that's just as relevant for us today as it was for him 2,000 years ago.
See, anyone can say they believe. That's the easy part. The much deeper challenge, the one that Peter's experience puts right in our face, is to actively align our thinking, our desires, our values, our definition of victory, with God's way of thinking.
This is the question that cuts right to the core. It forces us to look past our own comfort, to look beyond our own very limited human logic, and to ask ourselves if we are truly willing to embrace the difficult, demanding, but ultimately life-giving path of the cross. In those moments where our will clashes with God's, whose mind are we going to choose to follow?